I was 19 when my life changed forever. I had just discovered I was pregnant, and though fear and uncertainty coursed through me, I was determined to tell my parents the truth. I had hoped, naively perhaps, that they would be there for me, that they would offer guidance, comfort, or at least understanding. When I broke the news, their faces shifted. Shock quickly gave way to anger, disappointment, and something sharper, shame. My mother's lips pressed into a thin line, and my father's eyes hardened, cold and unyielding. "An electrician?" my mother asked, her voice tight and disbelieving. "You're going to have a child with someone like him? What were you thinking?" I tried to explain, my words fumbling, my heart aching. I told them I loved him, that he loved me, that we would make it work. But they weren't listening. They only saw what they wanted to see: failure, disgrace, and a reflection of what they thought I should never become. "You've ruined everything," my father snapped. "What cannot support this? You're on your own." I felt the ground shift beneath me. On one side, I had a growing life inside me, a child who depended on me already. On the other, the people I had always relied on, the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally, were turning away. Their rejection wasn't just painful, it was absolute. I remember standing there, trying to comprehend it. 19 years of guidance, of family, of trust. It all evaporated in a single afternoon. I had imagined embarrassment or disappointment, perhaps even a stern lecture. But not this cold, total abandonment. "I hope you know what you're doing," my mother said finally, her voice hollow. "Because we won't be helping. We won't be there for you. You've chosen this, now live with it." And just like that, the door closed behind them. Not physically, not yet, but emotionally it slammed shut. I was alone. Terrified, determined. In that moment, I realized something crucial. If I wanted my child to have security, love, and a life full of opportunities, I could no longer rely on the people who had abandoned me. I would have to fight. I would have to endure. And I would have to prove that their rejection could not dictate my future or the life of my child. It was the beginning of a long, hard journey. But even at 19, I knew I wouldn't give up. Not now. Not ever. After my parents walked out of my life, I had to figure out everything on my own. At 19, I was suddenly responsible for more than just myself. I had a baby on the way and a world that seemed determined to remind me of my mistake. Fear followed me everywhere, but it was quickly replaced by determination. I refused to let their rejection define me or my child. I took every job I could find: waitressing, tutoring, working late nights installing electrical wiring alongside my boyfriend, learning from him as he taught me more than just the trade. Every paycheck was carefully budgeted. Every decision weighed with the future of my baby in mind. I learned to manage my fear, to transform it into motivation. Some nights were endless. Exhaustion became routine, but I never complained. I couldn't. I had a tiny life depending on me. I decorated a small apartment on a shoestring budget, making it warm and safe, a place that felt like home. I read parenting books, researched every tip I could find, and slowly, steadily, I became the mother my child deserved. My boyfriend stood beside me, his quiet support unwavering. He never made me feel inferior, never questioned my ability to succeed, despite my parents' harsh words. If anything, their judgment had strengthened our bond. We built a life together that was based on respect, love, and shared responsibility, things my parents had dismissed as insignificant. Over the years, I completed my education while balancing work and motherhood. I earned promotions, gained recognition, and became respected in my field. My child thrived, smart, confident, and full of curiosity, the very opposite of what my parents had implied I could raise. Every accomplishment, every milestone, was a silent rebuttal to the words they had thrown at me 19 years ago. Despite their absence, I never let bitterness consume me. I focused on growth, on resilience, and on building something permanent. Their rejection had been painful, yes, but it had also forced me to discover my own strength. I learned that love, stability, and success didn't come from approval. They came from effort, commitment, and integrity. And so, for 19 years, I built a life they refused to support. A life that proved their judgment was meaningless. Little did I know, the day of reckoning, when they would finally come face to face with everything they had dismissed, was still ahead. 19 years passed like a blur of work. Late nights, school projects, and parenting milestones. I had grown strong, independent, and proud of the life I had built from scratch. My child, now a teenager, was thriving, smart, confident, and kind. My boyfriend, now my husband, had become not just a partner but a pillar of support, the person who had stayed when everyone else had walked away. Life was busy, full, and meaningful. And yet, I never forgot the door my parents had slammed in my face all those years ago. It was late on a quiet afternoon when I heard the knock. At first, I assumed it was a neighbor or a delivery. But when I opened the door, my heart nearly stopped. There she was, my mother, standing on my porch, hesitant, her face older, worn, and unmistakably uneasy. I froze, unsure whether to invite her in or shut the door immediately. 19 years of silence, of absence, of rejection, all flashed through my mind. I remembered her words, sharp and cold. "We won't be helping. We won't be there for you. You've chosen this. Now live with it, Mum," I said cautiously, my voice measured. She didn't speak at first, only shuffled her feet and looked away. Finally, she said softly, almost a whisper, I wanted to see you. I. Her words faltered, but I could hear the weight behind them. Uncertainty, regret, maybe even shame. I let her stand there for a moment, taking in the sight of her after all these years. My child peeked around the corner, curious, sensing tension but unaware of the full history. My husband stepped quietly to my side, offering silent support. "Do you want to come in?" I asked, my tone calm but guarded. She hesitated, then nodded slowly. It wasn't an invitation born of trust. It was a cautious entry into a world she had ignored for almost 2 decades. As she crossed the threshold, I realized something powerful. The dynamic had shifted. 19 years ago, I had been powerless, abandoned, and scared. Now, she was the one standing on the threshold, unsure, humbled, and facing the consequences of her choices. And for the first time in a long time, I understood that this meeting would not be about her apology. It would be about what I had built, what I had endured, and the life she had missed entirely. She knocked. Now, it was my turn to decide what happened next. My mother's eyes scanned the house as she stepped inside, hesitant and awkward. She hadn't seen this home before. Not the carefully organized rooms, the warmth that radiated from every corner, or the laughter that filled it. I watched her take it all in silently, letting the weight of her absence speak louder than words ever could. My child ran up to me, excited, and introduced her mother to Grandma with ease and pride. "Mum, this is Grandma," they said, voice brimming with the kind of warmth that my mother had never earned. My mother's lips pressed together tightly, a flicker of guilt crossing her face, as she realized how self-sufficient and confident my child had become. I gestured for her to sit, keeping my own composure firm and calm. "It's been a long time," I said. Letting the statement hang in the air, she nodded, barely meeting my eyes. The silence between us was thick, heavy with years of rejection, pain, and the life she had ignored. You've done well?" she said finally, her voice quiet, hesitant, almost unrecognizable. There was no warmth behind the words, no pride, only the faint shadow of acknowledgement. I looked at her and saw the truth clearly. 19 years ago, she had abandoned me in my most vulnerable moment, dismissing my future as if it didn't matter. But now, she was confronted with the life I had built, the child I had raised with love, the home I had created, the partner who had stood unwaveringly by my side. Everything she had mocked, everything she had refused to support, now existed in full, undeniable force. "You should have been here," I said softly, not angry, but matter of fact. "You missed so much. And your absence was your choice." Her throat tightened, and for a moment, I could see the weight of regret settling on her shoulders. But it wasn't my burden to fix. I had built my life without her. I had loved, endured, and succeeded despite her absence. She realized it then. No apology, no plea could erase the years she had lost. I didn't need her validation anymore. I had everything I had ever needed, and it wasn't hers to give. As she left that evening, I felt a quiet sense of closure. 19 years ago, she had slammed the door. Tonight, I had opened it, on my terms, letting her see the consequences of her choices. And for the first time in almost 2 decades, I felt completely free. I had survived. I had thrived. And I had done it all without her.